And when you think about going to college, whether you're a parent watching this or whether you're a student whose college is on the horizon, I know that there's probably some concerns that you have mixed with a little bit of excitement because we're in a rapidly changing world. The world that we live in right now expects more from us every single day. They want us to make more content. They want us to make better grades. They want us to work more hours. More is kind of the expectation that we feel like we're living in right now. Does anybody agree there? And so what do you do whenever you always feel like people want more from you, but you don't feel like you either A, have the tools in order to get what you want accomplished, or B, you don't have the time in your day to even get those things accomplished and to meet those expectations? Well, I'm here for you because I want to tell you, if you don't figure the step out that I'm going to talk to you about today, you're not going to find yourself reaching the level of success that you would hope to reach. Whenever we don't plan, whenever we don't look to the future, we can immediately begin to feel lost. We can immediately begin to feel overwhelmed, and we can begin to let little things slip. And as those things slip, they kind of snowball and they roll up and they turn into this big boulder to where you feel like all you're doing is running away from the things that you have to get accomplished. And along the journey, whenever you feel like you're running away from those things, something even worse happens. It keeps you from doing the things that you actually love and the things that you're actually passionate about. And so my goal today is not just to give you a study skill or a trick that's going to help you, which I am. I'm going to give you that, so stick around. But I want to give you something that's going to help you take control of your whole life. Yes, in high school. Yes, and in college. But you're going to take that skill and apply it for the rest of your life in every situation that you're in. So I hope that you find this beneficial. And I want to tell you a little bit about my college journey. So I told you about not really knowing where I wanted to go in the beginning, right? Well, I finally found a school. I found it, I think, like maybe my last semester of my junior year. And I honestly picked it because it was close enough to home that I could drive back if I needed to. And their website was better than some of the other ones. That's literally the criteria I used to pick the college I went to for my undergraduate studies. Probably not recommending that strategy for anybody who's out there looking to go to college right now. You really need to check the programs and the opportunities, not just the website. But anyway, I get to college. I meet my roommate. He's a great guy. We mesh really well. I kind of hit the roommate jackpot my freshman. And I was in a program where we all lived in the same dorm and we went to the same like basic classes together. One of those basic classes was U.S. history. And yes, sorry, you're going to have to take 2 more semesters of history in order to get your basics completed. And so we walk in on the first day of this history course. Now, mind you, I'm fresh out of high school. I mean, I used to work at Arby's, so like I was just happy that I wasn't slinging French fries and slicing roast beef for the first time in several years. And I walk into this old building. I mean, Texas State was built in 1899. And so the history hall has like this courtyard in the middle. I mean, it's just a tiny little building. The desks were like made out of ancient wood. And we all sit down and we get everything together. And out walks our professor. And I'm not joking, he was like this 80-year-old little man. He had a starched white shirt, black military-esque pants, and just like a demeanor of like he meant business. And so I was like, okay, well, this will either be really, really good or really, really bad. Like there's no in between when you have somebody like this. He starts class by saying, all right, everybody, my name is Professor Pohl, and we are going to begin by talking about early American history. He then goes to the chalkboard. Now, when I was in school, there were a few chalkboards left, but I'm not so old that most classrooms didn't have a whiteboard. So he had like one of those old like chalkboards that were on a stand that you could like flip around. And he grabs a piece of chalk. He goes up to the board And he starts just like scribbling, is what it looked like, just drawing all these little lines. Well, what he was drawing freehand without any reference was the entire layout of the river systems of the United States of America and the outline of America. I got to tell you, whenever he turned around and showed us what it was and explained to us what he was drawing, I was like, I don't know if college is for me. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pass a class. I hope he doesn't require us to memorize the entire river systems and freehand draw them on a test. Well, the good news is he did not require us to freehand draw anything on the test. But the bad news was this test was completely essay based. He gave us 2 tests per semester and 2 quizzes per semester. Those are the only things. Oops, I accidentally triggered balloons. Celebration time. Those are the only things that we were graded on. 4 grades. I was terrified. I didn't think I was going to ever graduate from college, and I didn't really know what to do. Well, long story short. Oh, and let me tell you about the test. The test consisted of 2 essay questions that had to be at least 5 pages long. He preferred more. 3 short answer questions that had to be 2 pages in length. And then 10 like short answer sentence style questions that had to like prove evidence and all kinds of stuff. It was not open note. It was not open book. You listened to the lectures, you read his reading assignments and took notes, and good luck. So again, terrified, thought I was never going to pass college. Clearly, things worked out for me. I'm okay. But I had to really change my mindset. I had to really think about, what am I going to do? Because what I did in high school, which honestly, like if you show up to class, you turn in your assignments on time, like you can make decent grades in high school doing that. But that wasn't going to be enough for this history class. Luckily, he had teacher aides and they had scheduled study sessions. And I really never had to study in my life until that point. And so I literally was finding myself learning how to study for the first time ever. And when I followed the framework that I'm going to share with you today, I found myself to be pretty successful, especially when it comes to Dr. Pohl's tests, the 500-page essay tests that he had us write. And I'll tell you, after the first test, I called my dad. I said, Dad, I might as well just move back home. I don't think that this is for me. I just took a history test. I'm probably going to fail it. I just want to let you know I'm sorry for wasting all of your hard-earned money, but I think I just need to hang up my hat. And my dad wisely said, well, don't quit until you see what you made on the test. And so one day the test was being passed back, and to make them even worse, they were in these things called blue books. It's just literally like a blue packet of paper that is just lined paper, and that's like the official testing book that you had to write all your stuff in. Yes, handwriting, not typing it out, by the way. And I got my blue book back, and big red letters, it said B+. Now, typically, I am a guy who shoots for all A's, but with the amount of work that I had to put in and the effort that I had to make myself follow, I was thrilled that I got a B+. Like I wanted to frame that thing on my wall. I wanted to like shout at the top of my lungs, and to make it even better, my roommate who studied with me got a C. So I still beat him, and I let him know that my style was better than his. No, I'm just kidding, but not really. No, it was great. And so that really kind of like gave me like, okay, maybe I can do this. Maybe I am going to be successful in college. Maybe I will actually graduate in 4 years. And here's the deal. That is true. I did graduate. I actually graduated in 3.5 years from undergraduate, but I wouldn't have been successful if I didn't change my personal expectations on what my study schedule looked like. And so, I want to share with you a framework today that I have created, because I think it's really important for you to not have to go through the pain of the steps of figuring out your own framework. that you can just take mine and adapt it to what works for you. And I know I have an AP class here right now for you all. I want to speak directly to you for a moment. You should start this framework now. You should take this framework and apply it to what you're doing in high school. Even if you think you've got it and you've got something that's working for you, I just want to tell you, when you step into the college life, even as hard as AP and dual credit may seem at times, it's nothing compared to what the college life is going to be. So if you can master this skill now, if you can figure out what studying looks like for you now, even on a small scale, you can scale it up and build it up to what you're going to need when you're a freshman in a new environment, away from your support system, and in a completely different educational expectation than what you have right now in high school. So before I jump into the framework, I want to share 4 things that I realized from Dr. Pohl's class. The first thing is, you got to pay attention in class. No matter what's going on, no matter what drama you're dealing with, no matter what's frustrating you or worrying you, paying attention in class is the number one most important thing that you can do. And this is not the study framework, by the way. This is just a free bonus. The second thing I learned is avoid last minute cramming. Guys, I can tell you, if I crammed last minute for Dr. Pohl's tests, I never would have been able to write the information out. That's just true. Like, he required so much information on his tests that you really had to know what he was talking about. Now, could I recall any of that information now? Absolutely not. I could not tell you a single word that I wrote on that page, but I know I had to study more than just the night before his tests in order to even eke out a relatively low passing grade. Okay. The other thing I learned is the importance of the syllabus. In high school, I know that a lot of times you get a syllabus, but the teacher kind of guides you through what the content curriculum is going to be. In my case, in Dr. Pohl's class, I really needed to know those 4 dates because I was only getting 4 grades. And so I recommend that even in high school, you pay attention to the syllabus. And if the teacher changes it, that's fine. But you need to become responsible for your due dates and deadlines. And then the last thing is just proper organization and figuring out your own study style. For me, the way I studied for Dr. Pohl's tests was I wrote everything out on index cards based on the events. I was an event type of studier whenever it came to his tests. And so I would write like summaries of the event on the back. And here's the deal. I didn't even study the flashcards. Just the act of me writing it all out helped me to learn. So I probably made like several decks of the same type of flashcards and would just copy and write because that helped me. That might not be your style, but there's a free tip for you if you have an upcoming test that you have a lot of information you need to know about. So let's get into the framework. I want to introduce to you something that I am very proud of, and that is the study schedule framework. And so in the study schedule framework, I have 6 steps that you need to follow in order to build a successful study schedule. Step number 1, you need to assess your subjects. Okay? So whenever you're thinking about all of the courses you're taking, I know right now some of you take all 8 courses. If you have off periods, it might be a few less. But when it comes to your courses, you need to assess and prioritize the ones that are the most difficult for you. Because the ones that are most difficult for you are going to require naturally more study time. For me, the difficult subject was always math, English, reading, writing, communication, even to some extent science when there was no math involved, was something that was easier for me to do. I didn't have to study a whole lot, and I was a natural reader my whole life. And so reading the assignments for the quizzes and stuff in English was never hard. Math, on the other hand, took me a lot longer to figure out. And I did not have all of these vast technological tools at my disposal, like Khan Academy and different websites that I could just pop on real quick and figure out how to do some of these higher level math courses. So whereas it may take me 30 minutes to read a chapter of a book and answer some review questions for homework, math could take me anywhere from 1 to 2 hours, depending on the amount of problems and the expectation of the teacher. So assessing your subjects and figuring out the priority list of which one's going to need more time is important. But the second step is you need to set a weekly, hourly goal for your study time. Now, when you have upcoming tests, that's a good way to kind of judge that, right? So if you know every Friday you're going to have a quiz, you should probably dedicate at least 15 minutes to reviewing what you learned that day in class and knocking out a couple of practice problems, right? So if it's in math, find some other problems related to that topic. If it's English, read what you're doing and write your own thoughts and summaries, and maybe try to pick out some of the literary things that you read about. Science is a big vocabulary test, honestly, and so you need to learn the vocabulary and how it ties to that. So that's some of the things that you can do when it comes to figuring out how much you need to study. And I always suggest that you tie it to those tests and quizzes and things. Now, when a test is coming up, you definitely want to give it more time, right? You don't want to just do 15 minutes. You probably want to up it for the week leading up to the test. But I know everybody has a lot of things to do. So for standard studying and getting ready for quizzes and things, I would suggest at least 15 minutes per subject that you're struggling in. Okay. The second part of the study schedule framework is to plan your study sessions. It's one thing to say, I want to study math for 3 hours a week. It's another thing to actually sit down and do it, right? If you have it in your head and you don't write it down, you're not actually going to follow through with it. And when I say write it down, I mean you can literally write it down in a paper calendar or a sticky note and stick it somewhere where you'll see it, or adding a reminder in your phone and putting a calendar event in your phone that goes off and just says, hey, it's time to study. Those are all things that you could do in order to ensure that you have your study schedule in place. So if you're going to study math for 30 minutes every night, then just put it on your calendar as a repeating event, Monday through Friday. I'm going to study math for 30 minutes at 8:30 every night, right? That's one way that you can do that. Also, while I'm on the topic of study sessions, another thing that you can do is you can schedule group sessions with people in your class, right? Maybe come up with some problems that aren't related, not related, but aren't directly from your homework. Like, again, using Khan Academy, for example, you can find a whole bunch of stuff and y'all work through whatever topic you're working on in science or math or CTE or whatever it is your test is coming up. But you do it in a group of, I would say 3 to 4 is probably a good study group size. If you get any more than that, it's no longer a study group, it's a party group, and it kind of wastes your time whenever you get together for studying. And I would also tell you, be selective on who you invite to your study session. Only invite those people who are actually going to study. Because if you invite people that you generally like to hang out with and have a good time, I guarantee you it's going to turn into a hangout session and little to no studying will be done. So think about that if you do group study. But solo study is also a good thing. The third part of this framework is to choose your peak times. Now, I know that your hands are tied if you're a high schooler, but college students, you have a little bit more flexibility because your schedule doesn't typically take your entire day unless you're taking like 20 hours like a crazy person. And if you're in high school, you need to, number one, look at your extracurricular responsibilities, right? And plan things around those types of things. Your family responsibilities as well, but then figure out like what part of the day do you have the most energy to focus on thoughts? For me, I'm a morning person. And so I wake up, I go for a walk, and I get to work. And that's just how I've always been. My wife, on the other hand, she likes to have some time to wake up before she's ready to get to work. She can't just sit down and start, churning out knowledge and getting to work like I do. And that's okay. That's just we're 2 different times. Her peak time is not the morning. I know that all the way up until about 1 p.m., I have a decent amount of energy that I can work with and I think clearly. 1 is about when I take my lunch because my energy starts to go downhill at 1 o'clock. And so I know that like from about 1 to 2, like I just need kind of a mental break. Then in the evenings, I don't really pick back up again until about 7. And so I'll try to knock out an hour of work around 7 p.m. every night because I usually have the energy to do so. Your peak times are going to be different, and they're going to be uniquely tied to 2 things. Number 1, they're going to be tied to your personal schedule, of course, because you can't create more time. The second thing they're going to be tied to is the amount of sleep that you get. I don't know if you're aware of this, but it's important to get at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep every single night in order for your body to function well. And I know what some of you are thinking right now. My body functions just fine without getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep. That may be true for you, and you may feel like you're functioning correctly. However, you will function at an insanely higher level if you can dedicate just 3 days of going to bed and prioritizing giving 7 to 8 hours of sleep. I'm going to challenge you to try it. Just do 3 days of going to bed at a time where you can wake up in the morning and get everything you need to get done and have 7 to 8 full hours of sleep. And for some of you, you haven't gone to bed that early since you were like 6. I get it. But if you really want to become a high-performing student who leads for success, you got to start paying attention to all these little details, okay? So choosing your peak times of studying is also super important. The third part of the framework is to plan your weekly goals, okay? This is where the syllabus comes in. If you have a syllabus that you can reference and you know when your tests are coming up, your quizzes are coming up, your projects are coming up, and your assignments are due, you can backwards plan, right? So if you know in 2 weeks you have a project that has all these different components, you would look at all the steps of the project, assign about how much time you think it's going to take you to complete that step, open your app for a calendar in your phone or get a paper calendar and start backwards planning from the day the project's due. And if you want to add yourself some buffer time, you can. And then start plotting. Okay, it's going to take me 2 hours to do this step, 3 hours to do this step, 30 minutes to do this step, and build that into your schedule. When you build that into your schedule, you not only have prepared to be successful on your project, but it's also going to help you whenever you get in that I don't really feel like doing this mood, because you've removed that barrier. You just open your journal, open your calendar, open your planner, open the app on your phone, and the steps are already there for you. I do that with my business. There's sometimes I'm like, man, I'm my own boss. I can do whatever I want. And then I look at my calendar. I'm like, but I already scheduled this step and it's really not going to be that bad if I sit down and do it. And I end up getting a lot more done than I thought. So planning your weekly goals is super important. The third part of this framework is to choose a good study spot. If your room is a place where you like to hang out, sleep, relax, and do non-school work, don't study in your room. Now, if you have a corner of your room where you think you can study, then that's a good spot. Personally, if I'm working on really big projects, sometimes I have to leave my office and I go to a coffee shop to work, or I'll go sit at my kitchen table, which is not the most comfortable place, but studying's not always about being 100% comfortable. You don't want to be so comfortable that you don't get anything done and you just start searching through social media and turn it into chill session, right? So think about where you're studying. That's another really important thing. The final piece of the framework is to note your important dates. I kind of talked about this a little bit with the syllabus already, but you should also not just backwards plan from those dates and put your steps into your calendar, but you need to put the due dates of everything in your calendar. The moment you know something's due, you need to trigger yourself and train yourself to go into your phone, open up your planner, and put those dates down so that you can't say, well, I forgot about that, or I didn't know it was coming, right? That's super important for you to do. Make sure that you know all of the due dates, because guys, you're responsible for that. If you're in high school and college, it's not really your parents' responsibility to do it. And again, it's just another step that you can take to where you're going to be able to be more independent. And the earlier you can learn that, the better off you're going to be, and the more successful you're going to feel too. Like, I don't know about you, but like, I don't want to always rely on somebody else for me to become a success or for me to achieve my dreams or my goals. I want to be the person in charge of that. It's one of the reasons that I started my own business, is because I have a vision for how I want to help students and what I want to do to coach them. I coach students one-on-one, how I can help them for free through these webinars and things like that, and how I can help them through videos and online courses. I had that vision. That's the vision that I want to carry out, and I want to be able to do it. Am I going to bring team members on when I can eventually? Absolutely. But at the beginning of the day, I had to choose to make it a priority and to put the schedule down and to set deadlines and to follow those steps. So whenever you go through your school day, Start doing this now, because it's not really about the assignments. What you're really training yourself to do is to become an independent person who is capable and has the skills in order to chase their own dreams. So I hope that this framework gave you a little bit of insight into how you can study, right? For Mrs. Holt's class, I will send Miss Holtz a copy of the framework, and she can share that with you, just this little graphic, so that you can remember some of the steps there if it's something that you want to apply. But I also want to share a little bit about what I do one-on-one. So I am an academic success coach. That is something that I'm working towards. And I actually just last night got a text message from one of my clients, and they said this: Justin has helped me examine the direction of my life and reshape what success means to me. With his guidance, I've been able to accomplish personal and professional goals that I never thought I could. He is able to assist in and teach me to break down my goals into measurable, achievable steps. We always have fun during our sessions, and I log off feeling a renewed sense of empowerment about my true potential and the direction of my future. Text messages like this make my day. Text messages like this are why I do what I do. And one of the things that I love doing most is having these one-on-one coaching sessions. I do them all virtual. My clients, my students get to set the times that work for them. I love the aha moments that comes when you have somebody else who's not your parent or your teacher in your life that is like pushing you in the right direction. And it's really cool because, I used to be a teacher. I used to be an assistant principal. And now my role is neither of those things. My role is to partner with my clients and just be a guide without judging their thoughts, without judging their dreams, without judging the steps that they want to take. And I just get to ask questions and provide them with tools and help them move forward. And so I'm going to share, there's a link on the Facebook group. If you're interested in coaching and seeing what it would be like to be with a one-on-one academic success coach, I'm actually giving away free 30-minute coaching sessions to those of you who are viewing this live stream. There's a link to my calendar in the live stream, and I'll drop it in the comments here in a minute as well. But I would love to just sit down and give you a free coaching session and let you see what it's like, see if it's something that's for you. I have a student that I'm working with who's a sophomore right now, and that student has gone from being just really not sure of themselves and concerned with social relationships and worried about what they're going to do long-term in their future to being an extremely confident person. And one of the best things that I've gained from working with that student is that not only are they a confident person, but I get to share in their aha moments. And it's good for me too, because I love seeing people change in a positive way. So yeah, that's a super important thing that I'm doing. And excuse me. And I'm offering free coaching sessions for 30 minutes to anybody in this live stream. The link will be in the comments. I'll probably post a replay eventually, and it'll be there as well. If you are in school, you do have to get your parents' permission to sign up, and I have to make sure that they've approved it. So make sure that your parents sign you up if you are 18 or under and you're still in school. So I just want to quickly go over what you would get if you were in one of my coaching sessions. And I think it is a pretty cool situation. Basically, what I do is I focus on a couple of things. Number one, I focus on you, the student, right? You're the most important part of this. I help you discover things about yourself. I help you discover things about others. I help you discover things about your future and how to be successful in your academics. Because I believe that whenever you have tools and certainty on these things, you're going to build courage like you've never built before. You're going to gain confidence in everything that you do. You're going to become more capable in making decisions and becoming an independent person. And you're going to gain a lot of clarity on where you go in life, but even more importantly, where you go in the future. And so when you have all these things together, you know what you need to do in order to thrive. And when you know what to do to thrive, that's when you truly begin to grow. You see, yes, I help you with study things, I help you with all this stuff, but my most important goal is to help you realize that you are an important person who deserves to grow personally. Personal growth is one of the biggest skills that you could learn that's going to help you be successful. And growing on your own is possible, but it's a lot easier when you have somebody there who is a third party, who cares about you, and who wants you to be successful. That's not your parents. That's not your teacher. That's not your aunt. That's not your bestie, right? My whole job in the coaching relationship is to help guide you to define your own version of success. And I take that very seriously. I hope that I can take my years of experience and my struggles and my trials and help you come up with a plan so that you avoid any of the pitfalls to success that I had to learn how to overcome. That's my goal. So I want to encourage you. Again, there's a link here. If you don't follow my page, I have a public Facebook page. It is called Thrive Success Services. You can follow it. I give free lessons like this every single week. Sometimes they're on YouTube, sometimes they're live. I regularly give out free guides and PDFs to help you study better and plan your life better. But I would be so honored to have you join me for that free coaching session. And, I'm not going to push anything on you. I'm not a pushy salesperson. I genuinely just want to sit down and connect with you, talk about your life, hear where you want to go, hear what success looks like for you, and give you a little plan to move forward. So go ahead and, talk to your parents if you're in school and see if they'll get you to sign up. If they want to sign up too and talk to me, I'll definitely do that with them. And I even coach adults as well. I've got 2 or 3 adults I'm coaching who want to go back to school and pursue higher education degrees. And so if you're an adult watching this and that's something that you're interested in, I do coach adults because really all these things work together. So I just want to thank everyone for being here today. I want to thank Ms. Holtz's AP biology class for joining me. Shout out to you all. And remember, one of the things I always tell everybody is when it comes to life, don't just exist, thrive.